And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at a game called The Seventh Continent. Now, this is a game, and I also have 3 expansions that I've stuck in the game, the Icy Maze, Swamp of Madness, and Forbidden Sanctuary. This is a game, and this review is going to be a little different than normal. Now, normally I show you how to play the game. I show you, and then I dump all the pieces, show you how to play the game, and give you my thoughts. In this video, I'm basically just going to be giving my thoughts on Seventh Continent. And most of that is because the game has spoilers. Now, at some point in the future, I'm going to play through one of the opening scenarios, and I'll play through it and try not to spoil too much, but it will obviously be a very spoiler-laden review. This is going to be a non-spoiler review. Take a look at this. Now, I knew Seventh Continent was a huge Kickstarter. Well over a year ago, well, I guess 2 years ago, they were at Essen. I saw their booth, and then I saw them last year, and finally the game is out now, almost 2 years after I heard about it. And this was a Kickstarter that did phenomenally well, and of course, I'm always cautious with things like that because the hype level is very high. Although the hype level being that high for Gloomhaven, a game that came out earlier this year, I thought was warranted as a game that I really enjoy. Well, Seventh Continent, at its core, is a storytelling game. In this, you, or up to 4 people, are stranded on, well, a seventh continent. You've had a curse placed on you. And the game comes with several curses, and each of these expansions adds another curse that's been thrown on you. And so in this game, you start out on a map piece. And even though I'm not going to be showing you much of the game, I want to explain that this box is full of tons of cards that look like this. They're this size. And on the back of many of these cards are map pieces. So you will start with your figures on this map piece, and then after that, it's totally up to you. One person can take an action, multiple people can take actions as what they want, but you have a deck of cards that you're going to have to use to do most of the actions, discarding cards from that deck. When that deck runs out, you will then start drawing cards from it again, but if you hit a curse card, and there's several of them in the deck, you lose. If you lose, you can go back and play the game again, making different decisions. And so the concept of this is almost like a choose-your-own-adventure story. As you go there and you look at the map, and so on a map tile, it might have 2 things that you can examine on that tile, and you might be able to go 3 different directions, and which one are you going to choose? And that concept is a lot of fun. I grew up on the choose-your-own-adventure stories, and so that idea was interesting to me. But I did wonder and worry and say, okay, if you die as you go through in your first game, and I suspect most people will lose their first game of this, is going through it again going to be fun? This is a very true thing with another game that I really enjoy, Time Stories. Because in Time Stories, you're going through over and over and over again the same story till you complete it. So since I like Time Stories, I was certainly willing to give Seventh Continent some leeway. Now, the main mechanism of Seventh Continent is going on tests where you're going to be drawing cards. So a test might say, draw 1 or more cards and you need 4 successes. Now, on the back of every card in this deck, there are stars or 7s or half stars, and each star is a success. If you get 2 half stars that fit together, that's a success, and the number 7 is a success if you have some item that lets you do that. And so you have to sit there and figure out how many cards do I want to draw, because these cards are our life force. I could draw 10 cards and be ensured that we're going to complete the test, but maybe I want to do fewer, but then I might fail. And when you fail tests, bad things can happen to you. Really bad things can happen to you, or good things will happen to you. And so you have to try to determine what you're going to do. Now, Seventh Continent is an aimless game at first. When you get in there, your curse, find a mysterious idol, go out and defeat some horrors, or whatever the thing is, it's kind of nebulous. You land on this island and you're like, oh, I don't know what's going on, which is thematic. You're taking these different characters, some of them who are fictional, some of them who are known fictional, like Dr. Frankenstein's in the game, some of them who are actual people, like H.P. Lovecraft is actually in the game. And each of them has their own set of skills and different special abilities, like Frankenstein, his character can actually make a monster, and bring that monster to life. So you have this these characters, and they have kind of a focus to them. One might be a good tracker, one might be good, but none of them are like amazingly heroic. You are just simply trying to cobble together resources and go across this island and discover things. I guess at this point I should pause and say this. I love this game. I mean, I really, really, really love this game. So now I'm going to tell you why I like this game. Now, I don't think the game was without flaws. It is a long game. If you play through a scenario, that scenario could take anywhere from, from you doing something to you dying, especially if you play in an easy mode, which I would recommend playing on your first game. It could take anywhere from 2.5, 3, 4, 5 hours. Now, the game does come with a very, very easy to use and quick save feature, which I really like. It works well. I don't think it works perfectly because sometimes saving a game can be negative because a lot of the map you've explored gets put away, and I don't want to have to explore all that again. But it's very clean. It solves a lot of problems, and I can unpack and the game. I can save the game, and unpack it probably 5 minutes each. How many games can do that? The game comes with a ton of cards. I don't know how many cards are in the game. They're all numbered, but there's multiple numbers for each one. And these cards are really easy. Hey, we need card 273. We pull 273 and put it out. But there's a couple things that fascinate me about this card system. First of all, there are multiple numbers of cards. So maybe card 126, there's 4 of them. So when you get card 126, you pick one of those 4. So whatever 126 happens, it might be random. You're not sure. Sometimes there's a green and gold cards. The green cards are put in front of the gold cards. So if I go to card 86, the green card, and there's a green card there, I take it. But if the green card's gone, I take the gold card. And that sometimes will show a change in passage. Like maybe there was a polar bear somewhere, and then later on I go back, the polar bear's gone. Why? Because we killed it and ate it. Or whatever happened to that polar bear. And so that's such a fascinating thing. But what really gets me is sometimes you are going to a location, so it will say go to card 89, but you have a boat or you have something else, and maybe the boat says if you're doing a sea action, add 8 to the number. So instead of going to 89, we go to 97. And because we have that boat, we were able to go to a different location. And what this does is it allows the curses in the game, each curse is a separate story, it allows them to all use this same continent, but as time goes by, even though you're on the same continent, you can diverge in different directions. I should point at this point that I've not yet won a game of this. But I feel like I can. The game is not easy. It's hard, and like I said, it's nebulous. You're not sure where you're going, but as time goes by, you find clues to say, I'll go this way. And I've actually played 4 different of the curses, because I played a solo one, I played with Sam and Z, I played with Jason, I played with Melody, and I've crossed the paths. I've seen, I've been here before, but different things happen. The game not just has those different numbers, but also has these randomizer cards that are event cards that can be placed when you go discover new things. And sometimes they're amazing and cool, and sometimes they're horrific and bad. And the game, the writing is really well done, and it provides an extremely strong atmosphere as I go through and say, wow, what happened here? This is really cool. And so I was worried, saying, oh man, I'm going to go through this again. But as soon as we die, I'm like, all right, let's go through and try this again. This time we will avoid that. This time we'll go here. Just like Seventh Continent. Just like Time Stories, I'm sorry. But there's going to be some differences here. First of all, there's that random element. And sometimes I might say, well, we don't need to get that. There's no optimal way, I think, to do anything. There probably is an optimal way to beat the things. You need to go here and do this before your cards run out. But the way that the cards come out is a fascinating thing, because that's one thing, if you've not played this before, you have this life force of cards that when you run out of it, there's a chance you'll lose. But on the back of these cards are items, ideas, things that you find. You're like, oh, a raft. Every time you do a test and you draw these cards, you can keep one of the cards. And so I can sit there and say, oh, I'll keep this raft card. That might be handy. Oh, maybe this, I can start a fire. Fire is really handy to do this. Or here's a club. We probably better keep that so when we fight something, we can survive, or whatever the cards may be. And that's a cool concept. There's cards in there specifically geared for your character, but there's cards that work well with everyone. And those cards are going to come up in different orders in different games. You might not find the raft to be able to go off on the sea in a different spot. So you may go do something different. You might go exploring down into a cave. Guys, this game is so huge. I'm so impressed. I didn't think it was as big as it is. And I don't know, maybe there's only 100 hours of gameplay in this game. That's enough, right? That's a lot. I'm really excited to go back into this. Now, I said that the game is solitaire. You can play one person up to 4 players, and it essentially is a very easygoing. If there's one thing I'm not really keen on in the game, is that the actions are very much like, hey, I'm going to do this, and someone else will be like, I'll do that with you. And you can go your separate ways and split the party. Don't. Doing things as a group can be somewhat negative occasionally. If you find something bad, it hits everybody. But for the most part, it's usually good to work together and do things. And I like that. It's a very strong co-op game, but at the same time, you can play it solitaire, and it's just as good. It just has that same, hey, I can go and do this and go and explore that. I like the artwork in the game. I like the fact that, as I said, it has this early 20th century pulp fiction feel to it. And as you go through, you're like, okay, yeah, I see this. There's a pigeon. There's that. Oh my, what's that? And some monster comes out, and you have to deal with that. And I think some people might find this game frustrating, but this game for me is probably, I'd rather play this than Time Stories. And Time Stories is one of my favorite games. But because of this, I'm like, there's this whole exploration feel. Every time I play this game, I want to see everything. I want to do everything. I'm like, ooh, what's that? We found a cave. Can we go in that cave? Ooh, there's a hut. Who's inside that hut over there? I found a hole in the ground. And another thing I really like about the game, this is the only game I know of that gives you like a magnifying glass. Because on some of the cards are little numbers. And if you find that number, that's a hidden thing that you can go do. You can go find that card. Now, this is not unique to this game. The Unlock series also does that, although I believe this game was designed before the Unlock series. But just that whole, every time you look at a card, like, ooh, is there a hidden number on that card? Is there something hidden here I can find? Ooh, what if I have this thing and I go over there? This one gives you multiple actions. You know, I'm digging and opening a chest. Should I open this chest now, or should I save it for later? Should we come back and do this? Should we go exploring before we climb up this cliff? If we go this direction, will we be able to come back? Will we wipe this little island that we're on and go to a completely different island? The choices here are tremendous. This is a tour de force amazement work here, because I have not run into any problems. In fact, I haven't even needed to look at a FAQ much at all. The rule book is not that complicated. It comes with this action sheet, which looks really complicated, but not really. It just tells you what all the different actions are and tells you what the cards mean when you look at them, and it tells you what happens, which is usually something bad for your character. It's not a depressing game. You start with a curse on you, and yes, I've lost every game I played so far, but I feel like I can win. And when I win, the game says, you are the hero. And I feel heroic as I play this. So if you like stories, you're going to like this game. Because there's a neat story, and you find these neat things, and you'll find treasure maps. If you like pulp fiction at all, this is that to a T. If you like working together as a group and finding and exploring, like I like exploring games, like what does this tile reveal? And there's so much to find in this game. I will probably find it all at some point. I'll probably play all these and find all of it, although they're making more expansions for it. And I would love if they added more packs to it as the years went by. But just as is, pretend that they don't make anything else for this. This game has a ton of content in it. Easily one of my favorite games of the year. I apologize that I haven't been showing you a lot of what I'm talking about, because there are kind of spoilers involved in it, but I'll do that some point in the future. But for now, I can tell you this. This is an amazing game. It's a game that I think uses a lot of things from other games, a lot of different concepts, but does them in a new, unique, exhilarating way. This is possibly the best adventure board game ever designed. It is possibly the most ambitious game that's been designed in a long time, other than maybe Gloomhaven, and it succeeds. There's a few things that might be a little longer, although you can save it, and sometimes maybe you might argue over exactly how something works. Sometimes you just have to kind of go with your gut, but other than that, I think for the most part, it's a very tight, well-designed adventure where I get to be the hero. I like that. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!